Alright guys, I was out chopping an oak tree yesterday. It was yesterday. And I was working my steel pretty hard and somehow managed to blow the clutch, or the clutch drum, or maybe the bearing that was here came out and made it all kind of fall out. So I'm gonna see what I need to do.
I first needed to do a bit of investigating to figure out exactly what went wrong. I knew that the clutch was completely jammed, but I needed to take off this cover to do a little bit more looking to figure out exactly what was broken. I right away knew that the damage was pretty bad because the cover itself didn't really want to come off, and I had to do a bit of prying because of the damage that happened right there next to the clutch drum, or the cover of the clutch. Eventually I do get the cover off and then take off the clutch drum, or the clutch cover that's in the middle, and I find out the damage that had happened, and I'm glad that I stopped trying to use my saw when I did, because it could have gotten a whole lot worse. I then took off the clutch drum so that I could fully expose the clutch that I was pretty sure had imploded, or some part of it had come off during the process of trying to use the saw when I shouldn't have been trying to use the saw. Once I finally had the clutch drum off, I was actually surprised to find one of the clips that's supposed to be on the side of the clutch. It had completely broken off.
This is completely...
So once I had confirmed that it was indeed the clutch, or one of the clips that holds the clutch together, that had broken, I knew that I needed to replace the entire clutch. So what I went ahead and did was remove the shroud cover and the spark plug, because I'll be using a trick to jam the engine or stop the engine from being able to rotate, so that I can unscrew the clutch from the chainsaw engine. And all you have to do is fill the carburetor engine area that is at the top of the pistons with rope, and when you go to rotate the clutch, it will rotate the engine and move the pistons up into the rope within the firing chamber, and then it essentially jams the engine so that then you can take the full clutch off like I just did. You want to use a clean rope that's not going to fray or leave anything within the chamber, and you have to give it a pretty good push. And also, don't blame me if this hurts your chainsaw. Just a heads up. It's a good tip, though.
Okay. You can kind of see right here. You can kind of see some of the lines over there on the left, and then even over on the actual fuel pump.
I meant to say oil pump. You can actually see the tube that is coming in from the right. On the left, you can see some of the damage that was made when the clutch broke. Here and here are the two screws to remove the oil pump. This is the worm oil pump gear that spins on the engine rod just below the clutch. The worm-looking bar spins by attaching to the clutch drum, which I'll reference later on in the project.
Right here. Right there. I'm not sure. To me it looks like the fuel pump's probably still okay. The screw even got kind of messed up. But, oh, and this is going to come off. I think I'm going to need to take that out. Inspect it. Blown out, you can see. fine. Oh, it did get a little bit scratched up somehow. Maybe from the rubbing.
That right there is the oil pump that was pretty damaged, but it ended up still working. So I put it back in later on, you'll see.
I think surprisingly, it's actually okay. You can see here though. But when I hit the roller, it still is pumping right here. So I think it's actually, it's okay. It's back in there.
I then spent just a bit of time inspecting more of the damage and trying to do a little bit of cleanup with shop towel to get out some of the oil and sawdust buildup, so that I could just make sure that nothing else was too damaged. There was definitely some scars on the plastic that's behind the clutch, as well as, like I showed, the plastic that's was on the oil pump, but the oil pump still did work, so I put that back in.
Alright, like a farmer today. Oh my gosh, my hair's getting so long. Anyways, got the new part for the saw. This is a new clutch with the clutch drum cover, and there's like a new bearing thing, which the bearing and this faceplate and the little tiny E-clip, which is right here. These things, when the clutch blew out, they flew out, so I lost them, so definitely needed these. And then the clutch itself, you can see this is the old one, this is the new one, and this is an aftermarket piece, so it's not Stihl, it's made in China. We'll see if it's as good. But this one you can see that the clips came off. You can see the clips here, but the clips are not here because they broke right off when the clutch came off. So, alright, let's see if I can get this all back together. I did order a new fuel pump and even a new hose that will go down into the, sorry, it's not a fuel pump, it's an oil pump. It's for the chainsaw oil that goes on the chainsaw, because it got pretty beat up right here. But the tube, or the rubber hose that goes down into the oil tank, there's an oil filter on there. Pretty sure you just pry it out. But it also got scratched. But it still is working, I think, enough. I ordered new parts for that stuff, but it's not going to be here for a while. And I want to get out this weekend. I want to get up to the place where the tree is at to try to keep cutting, because it's a lot of wood, a lot of cutting. So when the parts come, I'll replace those, but for now let's go ahead and replace this stuff. So my camera gets turned off, but I put everything back together. I had to make sure to get the little spinner that pops out to the I don't know what it's called, but this is the clutch drum thing that goes over top of the clutch, and there's a little divot or a little spot that's out right here. And when that spins the metal bar that goes into the center that's got a gauge that's doing the chain pump, the oil pump. So make sure you match that up when you put this on here, and then you can put that C-clip on. Frustrating that this camera gets shut off on me. It always happens when you need it the most. But I had to use some pliers to pop that on there because it should be pretty tight. It should be pretty hard to get on there. I think part of the reason why my other one came off is because that C-clamp is back. Or the E-clamp, not C-clamp, E-clamp. Little tiny piece of metal. Yeah, now let's finish putting it together. See if it'll work. This baby will start. Okay, got a fire. Keeps getting flooded. Come on. Okay, so I think for whatever reason the engine is now flooded. So I'm gonna let it kind of air out. Took the spark plug out. Super annoying, but it did fire up for a second and the chain was spinning, so I think that's all good to go. Now I just got to get it running. I let the carburetor next to the spark plug dry out last night. Came out this morning, fired right up, which is awesome. And the clutch is working. The bar is spinning or moving, and I even checked to make sure that the oil pump was still working and still pumping out oil, and by taking off this plate over here and looking while it's running. So I'll show you how it sounds when it starts. Let me put this cover back on. Okay, as you can see, it is running. So, I'm now going to pack back up all my tools, head up north, Los Olivos area, get to work on that tree again. Hopefully my clutch won't blow out again. Hopefully I'll get the tree down. A lot of work ahead. Stay tuned.